Hello, hello. Welcome to SABIFF 2023. Today, we are going to delve into an area of production that many people are very unfamiliar with, especially um, people of color, African Americans. They're very, very few in this field. So, we were able to find two script continuity supervisors, and we'll explain more about what that is. But first, let me welcome you. I'm Ada Bobineau with the San Antonio Black International Film Festival, and I'm going to bring on the stage today. Hey, Carolita Blythe and Samuel Sullivan. Welcome, both of you. I want to just say just a little blurb about them. Carolita is a script supervisor based out of Los Angeles, California, originally from Jamaica, where she grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and a graduate of Syracuse University. So we wanted to have all HBCU participants, panelists, interviews, but we could not find another script supervisor. And so we are so grateful that for Carolita to come on and talk with us. So we're going to excuse the HBCU for you, Carolita. Okay,
It's
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, yeah, no, it's like I told you. I said there are not a lot of Black script supervisors to begin with. So then when you start narrowing down and you even try to find HBCU, I would think there would be a couple, but it gets a little difficult.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is because I that was Sam's assignment, so he couldn't find anyone. So next, Samuel Sullivan went to HU, went to Howard University grad chapter, grad school,
Right.
and writer, producer, director in his own right is independent, and he has a company called Second Line Studios. In addition to doing script supervisor and continuity, so I want to welcome, and he's based out of NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm saying Opelousas, that's where my people are from, but New Orleans, Louisiana, and started with Queen Sugar, actually. Yeah, with the script supervisor role. So I want to just welcome you both. Thank you for joining us. I think it's so important for people to know what's out there in the industry, the type of jobs, the type of careers that are out there, and that definitely need more DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, so I want to just start off by telling our audiences, and this is to either of you all. We can just kind of jump in one after the other. But what is script continuity? What is that when we say script continuity, script supervisor? What is that for the laymen that don't know anything about film production? Who wants to start with that? Sam?
Just short glue is trying to make the movie blooper free in a lot of ways. It's like not every, when someone catches like, oh, they're wearing the wrong shirt. Oh, they're saying, I mean, this is not what happened, or it costs every time we make a mistake, or someone's wearing the wrong stuff, or saying the wrong line, or something. Those kind of slow us down a little bit. So our job is to politely and kindly be supportive of all the cast members, to make sure they have, they can remember their lines if they have trouble. We call them out, but there's a bigger part, which is the continuity part, which is forever. If you know, fear of making a mistake or allowing something that doesn't match, because people get bumped in a movie when they see a movie and they say, wait a minute, he's wearing a red shirt before, now he has a blue shirt on. Where did you get that from? Those are the kind of things that we kind of try to make sure are correct, and we make tons of notes for the editorial department so they can know exactly what we did that day.
Mm-hmm. Well, good. You want to add on to that, Carolita?
Yeah, it's just to add on to what Sam says, because generally you don't shoot in sequential order, you shoot out of order. That's where the continuity comes in, and why the mistakes are made. I had a cousin say, well, you're shooting stuff, they're wearing the same thing basically, the whole day, so why are there these mistakes? It's like, nah, this scene will be shot here because it's in a certain location. This is the same day technically, but it's So yeah, that is a big part. Other interesting thing about continuity is continuity should actually be watched by each department. So if you do props, you really should be paying attention to the continuity of props. If you do hair, the same thing, wardrobe. When you have a really good crew, because I've worked with some crew that they're just on top, they sit there and they watch every take, and it does make our job easier. Then I've worked with some people who believe continuity should all be on the script supervisor. So the scene, they do what they need to do before the scene begins to prepare for it. The scene starts, and I might even have a question after the take is over, and I go over, and they're like on iPads watching videos, and I'm like, really? Yeah, that makes our job a little more difficult, because on top of everything that Sam said, we're looking at, making sure the actors are saying the lines. Sam, I don't know. I love when they're really open, writers and showrunners, because if a line bumps me, I'll say it to them. Like if it's a little awkward or it should be kind of rewritten. And I've worked with really lovely people who allow me to even pitch and say, hey, would this work better? But yeah, timing I do a lot of sitcoms. So for us, it's also the timing of the scenes. We have a camera coordinator. We're in single camera. I feel like the script supervisor and director are really like this, but it's even if you see shots or it's like, wait a minute, we never got a close up, bringing that forth and saying that. So it's kind of like being a point guard on the set. If I had to use a sport analogy, because of how you deal with all the department and you have to look at the entire story, the entire script, the entire movie. You actually have to have that in your brain, as does the director also.
Mm-hmm. So, Sam, you were just telling me when we talked earlier that, can you tell us like where script continuity came from? Because you were telling me about secretaries. I mean, in terms of how it developed into the industry, the history.
Well, the legend I've heard was that there was so much footage they were making back in the day, like in the 30s, 40s, that they needed something. They needed someone to keep order of all this stuff. So they had a script girl go to the set and write down all the things that we did that day, and then they would organize it. And then at some point, not just become what shots were there, but where they were in the hat. Is this the right costume for this time? Because most people don't know that TV shows and motion pictures are shot out of continuity. They don't start at the day one being the beginning of the show and the last day, the end of the show, of the story. What we do is we shoot it all in one spot, and then we move to the next spot where all those scenes take place. So it's continuity is important, because if they lost their hat in this scene, then they can't have it in the following scene, depending on the story points. So it's a collaborative thing where you make a relationship with all the departments, every department. You are a part of every department as a script supervisor. So even transpo, they could bring the wrong car to the set. No, it's the Dodge. It's the Dodge. So it's a collaborative thing, and it keeps you busy all day. I mean, there's quiet points, but there's times when, which way did I turn in that last scene that we were shooting today? And we have the notes for those things, because one thing you don't want to do is be caught, like, with the wrong answer. And, you want to support, you want to give the actor every opportunity to do their best. Mm-hmm. And you want the director to make the best film they can make.
Mm-hmm. So I really want to back up a little bit, because in the placement of everything, because you gave the good analogy, connecting it to the point guard, in terms of what you do, but in the analogy of a script supervisor, where is your place on set, and who do you interact with? Is it mainly the assistant director, or who do you interact with, and where are you on the set?
And I'll talk about, even though I've done both, I'll talk a little bit about multi-camera, which I'm sure is very similar to single camera. So on set, I mostly do sitcoms, and to me, sitcoms are they're kind of like shooting a Broadway play, in that you have a proscenium, and then you have kind of your walls, and you have the camera, in that fourth wall is where all the cameras are. So when you watch a sitcom, if they're watching TV, you usually don't see the wall the TV is on. That's the cameras. And then where they call it Video Village, there used to be something called a control room, where you were in a control room with the writer of the episode, the showrunner, the director, but now everyone is on set, and basically we have monitors. One called a quad split, because in multi-camera you generally use 4 or 5 cameras at one time.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And one is called your line cut. So when you have an audience, there haven't been a lot of audience shows since COVID, but because of COVID, but it's coming back. So you have a show night where you're shooting probably half the scenes of the show. Usually you do half beforehand, you pre-tape. You're doing half the scenes, but even in the pre-tape day, there's something called Video Village. And what it is your monitor with your quad or your quint split, your 5, your line cut many times. So we have someone up in a booth who's watching it and is kind of cutting it together like you would see on television. So instead of seeing all 5 cameras, one monitor just has, it's just one cut with the person cutting from the wide shot to the whatever. So it looks like what you would see when you actually watch the program on TV. But in that Video Village, you have, this is again, multi-camera. You'll have the camera coordinator, and that's the person who will kind of take notes from the director, or sometimes these days, they'll block all the shots. They'll block all the shots for the whole show, and they'll go back and forth with the camera again, because the director's dealing with the actors and so many things, and now you have 5 cameramen, so you need some kind of a go-between. Then you'll have the director, then you'll have me, who's whispering in the director's ear when I see something or I notice something, and then he'll make that determination of whether to stop the take, to kind of just keep going on with it. And then generally, actually behind us are where you have the showrunners and the writers for the show. They're either looking at our monitor, or right behind us, they have their own monitor. And then they'll come up and say notes. So we're in that main village: director, camera coordinator, script supervisor, and then showrunners and writer. And a network person is always there also to give their notes, or if they see something that might go against network standards, they're also in that cluster.
Mm-hmm. Sam, what's the difference with because you're doing like Queen Sugar was that one camera, or was that multi-camera?
Oh, it could be an A camera, and then sometimes they'll add a B camera to do a wider shot or a tighter shot, depending, just so we can get the coverage we need to for the editor to cut together. It means like there's, you're watching 2 cameras at the same time, like, kind of like in your zone, but sometimes we have playback, and they'll say, so I couldn't watch that other camera because I was doing so much stuff. What did they see exactly? Then they could play it back for me. If I'm like, sometimes I'm on set with them off camera in case there's somebody who needs a line and they don't want to yell out like a football fan or something. I like to be close enough just to say the line without breaking the energy of the room. So there's but it depends. On a more well-financed show, they have a playback operator who will show you the takes later on that it's like, okay, yeah, that worked because they did hit that mark, or they did say the right line, if there's no confusion.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was interested in, so you really have, I was thinking you work with the AD, but you all have like the ears of the director. Like you said, you talked to the director. You're
we're
like
right alongside. Yeah, we're right alongside because we're watching the same thing. And when we see something that comes up, we'll try to kind of head it off, or do we need to just stop the take and not even waste it? So we're talking. I mean, we've actually been yelled at by actors going, "We can hear you." She didn't have the bag before. When she came in, she had it on her shoulder. Now she's carrying it. This is not going to go. And the actor's like, I can hear you. I realized it was wrong. I didn't know how to switch it.
So you're the ones that make the determination, like y'all need to do the scene over again. You tell the AD or whatever, y'all need to do this scene over again, or yeah. Okay.
Or just the entrance with the bag, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And then sometimes the director will say, well, should we just stop? And it's we can't use this take at all, because what'll happen sometimes, I do want to say this, is somebody will say, let's just keep going. Let's just go through with it. You get your best performance. So now it's, good Lord, we did 5 other takes. We just got our best performance with something completely wrong. So do we want to try to do this again and match the mistake that was made? We've actually had to do that. And that's one of the things that'll go in notes, like on this take. And sometimes I'm like, please don't use that take. Please don't use it. But when the producers get in there, they're just like, man, he was good in that take. And I'm like, the lamp is missing. They use the take.
But see, that's where I talked to Edgar and Patrick and Megan, who are post. So that's where post-production, fixing in post comes in. When I guess
they hate that. They're like, fix it on the set.
Right. But that may not be a continuity call. That may be because the producer was like, no, we want that. And then they got to fix it in post. So that's interesting. That's interesting.
Like Carolita was saying, there's a thing called back to one, and then the actors will start back at the beginning of the scene or the action part, and then they would do it again, and that sometimes shakes up continuity a little bit if things weren't exactly right the first time. So you have to choose one of those takes, and that's always like I'm like,
So I'm just wondering, is it it's probably a bigger cost having to fix it in post than it is to shooting again and extending your production hours or time. It's probably the cost factor is probably bigger on the back end.
Oh, it's a lot bigger because when you're just shooting it there, you're usually shooting a little section, especially with, unless something blew up, like you're having some big budget, then it's like, well, got to do it in post because we're not doing that explosion again. But other things, if there's nothing big, it's not going to, and there's not much time to reset. It's not that many things happen. You might as well just do it there. And sometimes they are rushed for time and they're like, well, the 2 minutes this is going to take, or let's say the 5 minutes plus the 2 to shoot, we don't want to do it. I'm like, it's just 5 minutes as opposed to the money or whatever you're going to have to put in post. But in the end, that's not my call, Yeah.
So this sounds like this is a really big position. Like, why don't they teach this in school? Like, why don't people know about this? Because everybody always is like the director, producer, the writer. You see that all the time at film festivals, at different places. But this is like pretty major position.
It is.
It is, but it's like the caddy. I always kind of say it's not the golfer, it's the caddy who's carrying the what's called the golf clubs, and sometimes the director will look at you, did we get that one? Or the actor will ask you a question, it's like, was that good? It's like, yeah, that was great, man. I'm not gonna say what the director says, but you're there to support everyone, and it's I kind of like that. I was on the AD track. I was gonna get my days, but then I saw a script supervisor. I was like, that's more creative, and in my mind, it feels better with my story sensibilities and stuff. So I was like, let me see if I can get on that side a little bit, and it was very exciting because I could actually deal with the story instead of the schedule every day, which is the joy of it. It's like you watch what they do sometimes, and it breaks you down. I mean, Carolita will probably echo this when there's times in the movie set I've almost cried. I mean, I'm like about to break down because the scene was so good. You get to watch TV all day. It's just awesome because the characters intimately as intimately almost as intimately as the director, and because you got to know how these things are going to happen. And whereas the production department position, you're just talking about hours and logistics and You know, we got them in their dress. It takes this long, and those are cool too. But that's not our mindset. Our mindset is, are they telling a good story? And they'll ask us. Even the actor will ask you sometimes, "How was that one?" And yeah, you blew it out the water, bro. That was great. you know, you know. But I can't. But only if the director has said they don't want another one. You know.
Well, what are some of the tools that, I mean, one, skills. I know Sam, you came from an independent world where you did everything. You wrote, produced, directed. I mean, sound if you need to do sound. Carolina. So, what do you need to come to this department with if you're interested in a position like this? What do you need to have skill wise and I guess technique wise coming to this?
Um, I feel like with every other department, you have different levels of script supervisors. You have some that are really good and they're really committed, and then I feel like sometimes you have some um, that are not. The interesting thing about production is, as much as we're kind of the eyes and need to keep our eyes and on everything, what I realized about production is when one person drops the ball a little, and not that this is fair to everyone else, because I've worked with direct everything okay? I've worked with directors, a couple who've dropped the ball, and everyone else, the ADs, the director of photography, the scripts, everyone else steps up to support it. I feel like with this job, I think having a passion for story is important. I'm a writer, and one of the things I like is to read the script, and if something doesn't mesh or match, I can actually bring it up to the people I'm working with the showrunners. And you know, if they also develop a level of trust in you when they see that you have a good eye and you're not just there to just do notes, or to, when you're actually really following the story and trying to make sure that everything does work. Of course, you have to be able to pay attention, try to not to fall asleep in the middle of a take, because you need to be watching what's going on. You have to learn a level of diplomacy also, because you deal with and you speak with so many different people on the set, and not just the actors. You have crew members who can be very sensitive if you bring something up a certain way. So you learn personalities. You learn who I can go over to and kind of rib them if something's kind of going wrong, or which actors I can give them a note about a line to. And the ones that you have to kind of treat with kid gloves, again, not just the actors, also crew members. I've worked with like props that are so sensitive, where I'm like, I'm just trying to help the production here, and the prop is wrong. Like, calm down, you know. But you learn, instead of like just yelling at them or be like, you're getting on my last nerve, you learn how to kind of deal and how to talk to them. So I think a sense of diplomacy is really, really, really important. There are many other things I probably left out. You go, Sam.
Oh no, I was gonna say that is true, because there's so many moving parts, especially we're on a time crunch today. Because I think they have all the props they need for that day, and then I'll have pictures, and you will have pictures of, wait a minute, it's he's playing with the red ball, not the blue ball, and you run out there, whoa, time out, let me just switch these balls out. What you mean? And you and the prop person get into it a little bit, like, look, I have these pictures of them playing with this ball on this day. This is the color ball that he was playing with, and you gotta say it in a nice way, because we have to get it done and before wrap, because everybody's gonna go into double overtime and all this other stuff, and that's a big issue, and sun's gonna go down, one of those things. But we try to make it so that we don't have that. Like, there's gonna be mistakes here and there. There's gonna be stuff that's gonna happen wrong, and things will have to be changed. But your job is basically trying to hold the story so that the average viewer doesn't go, wait a minute, that was a blue ball. You know what I'm saying? So some people track different weird things.
But I would think you go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say wardrobe, forget it. I don't understand wardrobe that as well as a lot of people do. Like, is that the right collar for this period in time? Like, I don't know. But they know, they should know. And
Yeah.
and sometimes the stuff is so close together, and it'll pass. But still, that's not worried about. The thing I worry about is myself not being able to give the actor a line when they say they go line. We'll yell it out or say it loudly, and or if they don't have a certain prop or they are carrying a prop they shouldn't have, those kind of things.
But I would think also, I'm thinking as you all are talking, you have to be certain, you have to be confident being in this role. You have to be someone that's a leader. You can't be on the set going, excuse me, because people will overlook you. You got to be like, placement. I mean, you got to be leaders. I mean, you have to have all those type of skills, I would think, as well. Communicator.
You do. And some of it, though, yeah, it's learned as you go on, because I remember when I first started, I was like, what have I gotten myself into? Because this is a lot. And one of the things is, even no matter how much you do it, as the season goes along, or if you're doing a movie, you get to know how, and this is specifically about actors, kind of how they work. And this is one of the things that's happened to me. Sitting there, an actor is doing a line, and then there's a pause. And I'm like, are they acting or are they up? Because some actors will right away go line, and others they want to kind of do it themselves, and others are acting. And I've yelled a line, and I've heard this. I know the line, I was acting. But you could have driven a truck through the pause. So but that's something you adapt to and you kind of get to know. But when you first begin script supervising, you do build up your confidence after time, because you have to go up to people who you're like, this person's made 1,000 movies. This person is such and such producer, and I'm giving them notes or telling them something. And I think my voice was probably a little smaller, or if it was big, right afterwards, I probably ran to the bathroom and I was like, oh my God. And then once you're more confident in yourself, but people also trust you more. They've worked with you. They know that you're good. And so you feel better, even starting off the show, just bam, bam, bam.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. That's funny.
Okay. Amen to everything you said.
So what are some of the I didn't read that in the beginnings. I want you all to talk about. What are some of the sitcoms or dramas that you all both have worked on? Let's start with you, Carolita.
Okay. The last thing I was working on before we went down the strike, I was actually working on and I said I would never work on a kids show again. Not because they're not the kids, they're usually wonderful and lovely in my heart. The thing about kids show is it's a lot of, green screen, and let's do explosions. And they try to pack it into a limited day because the kids have certain hours, you can't work them past these hours. So they're 10-hour days. And so you're running and gunning. And sometimes I don't even get a break. So that's not my favorite, even though the kids are wonderful. But I was working on a Nickelodeon show called Erin and Aaron that just started airing. And one of the reasons I actually moved to that show was because the producers were so lovely enough to say that they would give me directing gigs. So I was working on Bob Hart's Abishola for CBS beforehand. And I'm going to be really honest, everyone. CBS and network money is another level. I'm going to be totally honest. It's just a whole other level than your streamers, or they have different production deals, how they structure it, from like basic cable production to network, and everyone knows it. Everyone wants to be on those shows. They're usually the shows with if you're doing multi-camera, just shorter. You get the bigger name people. They don't want to work long days. So you get the shorter days. So if you have anything happening outside your life or you have family, it's kind of an easier schedule to work with. So yeah, I've worked on that. I worked on a show, Baby Daddy, which I always think no one knows this show, and every college student comes up to me and says they love this show. I work with Cedric the Entertainer on the Soul Man. It's so funny when you ask me, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't even remember what I put on the little bio.
Let me see.
Steve Harvey show was my first show, like Steve Harvey's sitcom, script supervising.
I was
Yeah.
a script supervisor on Family Feud. No, I'm
Who?
asking, is there a script supervisor on Family Feud? You said Steve Harvey show.
No, he had a sitcom. There is a script. They have something I think they call the script supervisor, but they work kind of in the script department. It's a totally different thing.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
totally different. Because yeah, those shows they shoot about 5 of them a day, and it's just like this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I had the Upshaws, Disney's Pair of
Oh
Kings.
yeah, I worked on the Upshaws. I forgot about
Maggie, Malibu Country, TV Lands, the Soul Man. Yeah, okay, we got those.
And they're more. I really I don't know what it is. Once you're done, you just kind of I forget what show, and somebody will ask me something. And I'm like, oh God, I forgot I worked on that. Yeah.
What about you, Sam?
Um,
Sam's based in New Orleans. She's in LA, so go ahead. Different
vibes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's shows that are like long form things, like a movie of the week kind of thing, like a feature film that's going to be, and those are rewarding. Those are because you get to see the beginning to the end, and sometimes they have more money, so they're not going to be. I always got to get a little like not infuriated, but like disappointed that we don't do everything. Like we don't get to do everything. That we don't get. We're missing a scene. We don't drop that scene. Like because of time and stuff. But TV shows are more like that. They rush. They're on a path of like a train. They just go because we can't go back. We don't want to send a second unit to do this with the A characters and stuff. So I think there's more pressure in television than it is on a feature film that has 30 days or 40 days or something like that. That's kind of like I like those kind more, even though they're more time consuming. It's just that you can pace yourself better. But I'll do anything for money. But like a TV series, those are you have more consistent booking. That you know that 3 months from now you'll still be on the show, which is great. But it's I don't know. I'm just happy to get anything pretty much because it's you always want to learn to work with new people. It's always challenging in some way. It's always fun. In some way you're gonna see people you haven't seen in years. Like, oh, where you been at, man? Come on, those are kind of things.
But you started off on. I know you started off on Queen Sugar when you actually discovered like the department, the script continuity department, because you didn't know. So how did that come about? Were you doing PA work and then discovered continuity?
Yeah, kind of. I started doing. Someone got sick and they said, just hey, you take the notes for the day. Okay.
Oh wow.
Got it. Not on Queen Sugar though. This is something else. And then I started doing it. So I had at least 3 or 4 credits before I got to Queen Sugar. But Queen Sugar opened up a whole new world for me because it was, it was all about excellence and real family drama, real family stories, and the things that are triggering to us as black folks and triggering to women. Those issues were all, and it was like interesting to be about something that wasn't just for a hype. It was for healing and understanding to kind of pass that along. And so maybe your sister can tell you about some stuff that really messed with her. Like, really? No, I didn't know that happened to you. That kind of stuff. I think the show did really great, and the executive producer is amazing. She came down one day and we wrote the whole script and just gave it to us and got back on the plane. It was like amazing.
That's Ava. That's Ava DuVernay.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, we have power scene 7. Vroom, jumped in, rewrote that, and then vroom, out. She's great. She's amazing.
I mean, so many people, so many lives have changed because of her initiatives that she's added to Queen Sugar with the directing. How is that with all the different directors coming in? You all work with so many different personalities, and how has that been?
Just speaking of Queen Sugar, it was great because um, here's a young woman coming in. It's mostly women. All there's
Yeah.
the producer there a male producer did one or two of the shows the season per contract, I guess. But it's like all these young women came up and they were confident. They were cocky. They not cocky in a bad way, but like energetic and then thoughtful and really work with the actors. And the actors do this story every week, and they gave themselves to the directors, and that was good. And these are either young black women or older white women who may have not had a shot at it. They would definitely, Ava had a huge platform for getting people into the industry and give them credits so they can take off. It is the woman.
Do you work with a lot of black? I mean, to me, Queen Sugar seems like an extension of an HBCU.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that are working around, but is that the real? That's not the with your experience, I'm sure, Carolita, in terms of a lot of black crew and cast being around or crew being around Los Angeles.
No, I mean, I've had some that were a little more mixed. Something like Steve Harvey, where the showrunner was Winifred Hervey, so she tried to, get some in. But honestly, even on shows that might be considered kind of a black cast, a lot of time it is a majority white crew, and it's getting better now. But in many cases, it used to be a majority white writers. And directors. Yeah, there was a point I was working with a director kind of exclusively. His name is Stan Lathan, and he's done kind of almost everything on the TV landscape. And that was kind of cool because you knew what to expect. It was wonderful watching him, and somebody with just such a historic background who directed everything from Sesame Street to Hill Street Blues to Sanford and Son. Just everything. It was awesome. Def Comedy Jams. Yeah. But recently it's been more kind of the revolving door of a different director every week. That in itself is super interesting. It's great to see people get chances. And it's also great to see different directing styles because it's not one size fits all. There are different directing styles. And it's, for me, I like to watch and I like to learn and, kind of see what works. And so that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure it is. That is just adapting to the different styles that come in and out would be very interesting to do.
It is. And can I just add this one thing? I mean, there's been a push to diversity, which I'm so happy that that's happened. Mm-hmm. I've had conversations. This is always very frustrating because, like I said, a lot of times I am among white crews and where people have said, oh, my friend doesn't get a chance to do cameras anymore because of this diversity thing. Sometimes people forget who they're talking to because I'm like, kind of like the frat dude. I'll just roll in. We talk about sports and it's almost like they forget and they catch themselves. They're like, oh my God. And yeah, it's like they don't do work anymore because, they're trying to give roles, these jobs to women and to, minorities. And I'm sitting there going, hold on a second. I can still count how many camera people of color that I know. This is in Los Angeles. I can count. And if I go on a set and I see one, it's still, I'm like, oh my God, it's like a unicorn. I'm like, whoa, you do exist. Mm-hmm. So it's like, no, yeah, we're getting more chances. But if you still look at the numbers, it's so few and far between. And not trying to get political, I think when people see something sometimes that they haven't seen before, if they see two people doing it, to them, it's a lot. Two people of a different, because they've never seen it before. And I had someone say that to me on one show. She said, oh, I love the show that there's so many people of color. I said, there are 5 of us. And she was like, I realized, she said, I went home and thought about that. And she was like, I was just, you're a department head and there were a couple, and I just had not seen that. And to me, it was a lot. So and we actually had a discussion about it, but it made me see kind of how they do see things, because they've seen things in a certain light for so long, where there weren't people of color, and there weren't people of color in department head roles or directing or whatever. So if they see a couple, or like on these shows, like there's 3 people of color who directed in a row, they're like, oh, they've taken over and we've all lost jobs. It's like, no, that's not what it is. We've finally been allowed to maybe get a toe through the door. That's all it is. And I am hoping that it continues, and that it's not, because I think sometimes when there's a push, a lot of it happens at first, and then it kind of, it's like the flow and the ebb. So, but I'm hoping that it does continue.
Well, thank you for that. That is so true. There's still never enough to match up with all of the. I mean, when you're independent, we start off independent. When you're independent, like I said, you're doing everything. But when you get to these productions, everything is so compartmentalized, and every department has their team in every department. So when you have one person on the team, or no people on that team, under costume, under props, under continuity, under graphing, under gripping, it doesn't compare. It doesn't compare to what they have bringing in. So speaking of that, I want to speak with you, Sam, then I'll go with you, because you went to Syracuse. But coming from an HBCU in particular, even in Syracuse, what in school prepared you for the industry, for what you're doing? What in school, or did school prepare you for what you undergo?
So the way I started was, I was going to be an English major. I was just going to try to figure out how to be a writer or something along those lines. And then I was walking in DC, and then this car came out and stopped in front of me, and I pulled back, and then I heard someone say "cut." I was like, "What y'all doing?" And they were shooting a TV show or something.
Oh my God!
I was like, "Well, how can I be down?" This is kind of cool. So that's how I made that jump. So I was going to be like everyone writes, which I still want to. I'm still writing stuff, but it's like to be in that collaborative group is energizing, and so I work primarily as a script supervisor. So it's like, that's I'd like to be in the middle of a lot of people talking about how to do something right, and then being like a checker to make sure everybody's doing the right thing. I'm not the hall monitor. I'm like, can I help you? I'm the caddy. That's what my suit. But
you come from college. You like I said, you made a film. You made your feature films. You made your you directed. You wrote, and then you have to, when you go to the industry, you have to kind of humble yourself and be like a PA to kind of start and get your foot in the door. I mean, to me,
yes, that is hard. Yes.
Does that prepare you? Are you prepared to step back to move forward, or to be Sankofa?
Yes. I don't. It's kind of weird, but it's also the thing. What can I learn from this situation? Because one thing, I have to keep my bills being paid. That's one thing, and I don't want to work at McDonald's. I mean, this pays more than, and you get more experience, you make more connections, and to this day, I'm still meeting people I met 20 years ago. Like, yo, man, you retired by now. I'm like, no, man, I can't retire. So also the community keeps you young in a way that I find cool, because we're all still teenagers trying to figure out stuff, and we try to be creative and not being jilted. You can't be like so rigid. I mean, some people get I don't know, they start losing hope and faith, and they just get grumbly, and that's the time you should leave. But I'm always getting charged by these people. Like this conversation right now is like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna write tonight. You know what I'm saying? It's very exciting, because you wanna, it's living. Because I think this stuff is more than just words on the page. It's life, and when you put yourself into it, it becomes real.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What about you, Carolita? Did Syracuse prepare you for what you're dealing with in Hollywood?
I'd say yes or no. I'm a little different though. When I went to Syracuse, I was a pre-med major. I was going to be a doctor. Yeah,
Okay.
and then yeah, Jamaican parents, if you have somewhat of a brain, you better be a doctor, lawyer,
Lawyer.
teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. So I it was kind of a last minute switch. I like volunteered at hospital. I was like, this, I don't think I want to do this. And one of my roommates she was actually in Newhouse, which is a big journalism broadcast school, but she was doing all these projects and always putting us in these little film projects. And we would, I was like, this is kind of fun. So when I switched majors and my dad said, you're not on a 5-year plan. You're not on a 6, it's 4. So I don't care how many times you switch, you're graduating in 4 or else I'm not paying anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, I'll do what my roommate's doing because I need a degree. So I got a little, learned to, I always wrote actually in high school, but, kind of honed my writing a little bit and started like using a camera. That was my initial. But when I got out of there, because I remember I didn't have that down in here. So I didn't know what I was really going to do, honestly. But if I look back now, I think what Syracuse did prepare me for, I think your college experience is what you make it. Because there were students there who they knew what they wanted to do, and they were writing sports for the DO, and they were doing photographs of the games, and they were making, and then this ended up being their careers. It's like even the people who came before, like the Bob Costases and stuff, they knew what they wanted to do. College is the experience you make it. I think what I took from Syracuse, outside of the initial kind of writing and film, it was just honestly learning to get along with a lot of different people, learning how to deal with them, because I'm from Flatbush in Brooklyn. It's all Jamaicans and Puerto Ricans and Haitians. And I went to a school that was Jamaican and Puerto Rican and Haitian and Dominican. And that's what I was always around. And then I go to Syracuse, where I think it was maybe at the time, maybe 8% African American, if that much. And, we didn't have a lot of money. I went with some kids who had just more money than the Pope. And it was just interesting learning about their lives and just dealing with them. And in some instances going, hey, I'm not less than just because I didn't have that. And I think sometimes in this industry, you'll go, I think that's why when I go on a set, I never feel like I am less than, or I feel in any way inadequate. Yeah. Because I learned some life skills. But I think if I knew what I wanted to do at that time, because Syracuse also has, I think you have to make use of that network of alumni, just an amazing network of people, the Aaron Sorkins in this industry. And a lot of them reach out and they want to help. One of the first things that when I came out here, Jim Brown, who was for all the youngins, he's a Hall of Fame football player who just passed this year. And yeah, he would reach out to the students of color to come to his house, and he would just kind of talk to us about life and about just all these things. And if it's like, if you need anything, like call me, contact me. I was so afraid. I was like, I'm not contacting him, not because of any, but just, I was like, oh my God, Jim Brown. But we have that network of alumni. And I know Howard has like a huge, and many of these schools do. And a lot of them reach out, and don't be afraid to say, all right, they're reaching out. I'm going to reach out and grab hold of that. I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Is this one, are you all part of a union? I mean, the script continuity, I mean, where do you all fall in the whole production union stuff? Well, and then in addition to that, are you part of the union? And what is it a lucrative business? What are the range of pay based on union if you are part of that?
It pays pretty well. I'm not sure what the hourly is now, but it's like it was 40 at some point. Depends on experience, I guess. I don't know, but it was like, but there's there's different unions, different covering different areas. There's a Los Angeles West Coast version. There's a New York, and New York took us. Even though I'm in Louisiana, we're part of that New York union because there's only so many of us in the South that there's not enough to have our own union locally. So we're 161 out of New York, and I think at the Mississippi it's all West Coast or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sam, you guys actually have the stronger local. We're in one called 871. It's under IATSE, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees. And the kind of younger script supervisors, it's interesting. The older ones are IATSE and DGA. There was something going on before where a lot of them were able to join DGA, and DGA had made a push for the script supervisors because what we do, like I'm a member of the, what do you call it? The ones who, we vote for the Emmys. I don't even know what you call it. The TV Association of something, but the people who vote for the Emmys, and you go under a group, and we're under directors. And so the guild sauce, because of what we did, it's like these guys are kind of, there's a whole story behind why we are IATSE and not, which I won't get into right now, DGA, because script supervisors really should be DGA. But we are 871 here. That's our local. And as far as pay, it varies depending on what you're doing. Generally, single camera, I think they make more, plus you have a lot more hours. What we have to do, one of the things that we've been lobbying in 871, we get paid a lot less, actually, our rates. It makes no sense, but then 161, the deal that 161 was able to strike. But one of the things that we have to do is when we get a rate, it's like, all right, this is rate. But then you have to bargain. This is the part everybody hates. We actually have to try to bargain with producers where it's like, you know what, this is below my rate. So how about this? In multi-camera, we generally shoot 3 weeks and we're off for 1. There's nothing contractual that they have to carry us for a day or pay us at all. So what I do is I generally lobby to get paid for that entire week that I'm not working to keep me on and pay me. And it's also you lobby to get paid a daily minimum of, I've actually asked for 12, even on something like multi-camera where 3 days of rehearsal where I might only work 7 hours, but I asked for 12 hours so I can get a rate that I feel is more commensurate to what a department head should be doing. I hate doing it. It's not fun because you're like, I know my worth and somebody's trying to tell me no. And it's not fun to get shot down. And, I know some budgets can't no, they can sustain the rate I'm asking for. It's one person. We're a one-person department. They can, but they will say no sometimes. But then you have other places, like I said, network. I literally don't have to say anything. They're just like, this is it. You're going to get a 12 minimum each day, and your hiatus is completely picked up at the rate as if you were working the full week. And we'll see what happens post-strike, but that's how it's been, which is why, again, a lot of people have liked working network.
Well, I mean, so you have to really defend yourself. There's no agent or whatever. Like how do you fish for jobs? People just know you and come to you. There's nobody that like an agent or somebody that represents you, that you have to just do everything yourself.
Yeah, you're your own agent. You're your agent. And then once you start doing gigs, people, it's like how everything works in Hollywood. People know you. If they like your style, you start getting calls.
Is there anybody that do you have apprentices or people that train under you?
That's another interesting thing. That's been something else. Yeah. That's come up recently. They have been going back and forth about having script supervisor apprentices and kind of how to, I've been in a lot of the meetings and there've been little fights going back and forth. Just how it's a tricky situation because they want to make sure that because there's an apprentice, you as a script supervisor, you're not going to be paid less And they've been calling some of them script supervisor assistants to have an assistant because we're the only department where it's just one person. There have been times I've actually said, we're not getting breaks. I have to go to the bathroom. And I've actually had to get up and they're like, she just walked off, but I haven't had a break in 4.5 hours. I have to walk away, you know? So there's been a lot of talk about actually apprentices, and now they're starting to actually do some classes through the union, script supervising classes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's. Do you think that that's something that should be in colleges as well that have media, film, television departments?
I would love to see it it's something that a lot of people don't really know about. Even people on sets are like, what exactly do you do? You're in, do you get that, Sam? You're a little in everything and they don't, or they'll say one thing and it's like, I do a whole lot more. Or they'll look over your shoulder and they're like, what the heck are you doing?
Right. Who's going to read this stuff? Like, yeah, I'm drawing lines to the script. Oh my God. I'm supposed to.
I wish we had time if I can see something that you all would your tools. What are your tools?
Really quick.
Yeah, what are your tools that you work with? Because we're in the computerized age, but you all are still tablet and notebook and pen and paper, aren't you?
No, not anymore. Some are.
Okay. I was just wondering if there's like a program developed like they have
There
for scripts.
There are a couple.
There are.
Okay.
What do you use, Sam? Movie Slate? What is it? Movie?
I use Scripty.
Oh, okay. And I use I try to use one called what was it called? Movie Slate. But the problem was I was working on a show. Because here's one of the things with multi-camera. When you do shoot, you'll shoot like 20 pages a day, which, you know, like, yeah, you shoot like 20 pages a day. So you're just going. You are going.
Oh.
There is not, you're not stopping that. You are going.
Wow.
Yeah, but we'll only do it 2 or 3 days as opposed to 5 or 6 days like you guys. And then the other couple of days are like a rehearsal. Everybody's laughing. It's light on the set. They're making changes to the script. You're trying the changes. And then you get the 2 shoot days. But like a page on mine, I use an iPad and mine is it's kind of like I'm just basically writing on a tablet. So I don't do the really deep, but this is kind of one of my lined pages. It looks like something from A Beautiful Mind. Like, who can read this crazy?
Oh,
right?
Wow.
Yeah. But we also line our scripts differently, Sam, because since I'm multi-camera and we're doing 4 cameras on each take, and we go through a whole scene a lot instead of stopping. It's lined differently. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we just keep going and doing notes. Like if there's some kind of issue, I write it right on that line. I have what cameras are catching what shot. It's just
Yes. It is crazy. I do like the feature pace better than television because it takes it's a little slower on a feature in my experience, and I can figure out there's 3 cameras. If there's 4 cameras, I'll say 5 or 6 cameras. I can't watch all those cameras, but I know those 3 cameras are just lock offs of this horse running past and those kind of things. Lock off cameras are pretty simple, but if they're doing all this kind of stuff, I might ask the operator. So what? Like I saw the A and B camera. What was the C camera doing? Because you can't watch every camera. It's just impossible. But you do your best, and then they'll give me a summary. Look, we started here. The first or the second would say, here, these are our marks, and then we had like this much of this guy, and this, and it's like, okay, cool. That's what I need. That's all I want to give the editor an idea of what we did. If they don't have playback or something for those things, which is lovely. But
this sounds stressful. I know it's stressful already but this sounds well. What are some things that you like or dislike the most about being a script supervisor? Pros and cons.
Sam.
It's a probably for a bygone day. It's a probably bygone day, but the script girl thing. I was like, no. Like it was like somebody from somebody girlfriend is the script supervisor. Like, no, 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 no. This is a professional position, dude. You know. I I think there was a bias probably in the 60s and 70s, probably before that, and to be just to be just disrespecting people. There's a lot of language in the film world that equipment wise that is still based on race or something like that. Some little terms that people would say that they're getting pushed away now in this generation, but and sometimes just the old school mentality of like I own you kind of thing. Like I'm all about somebody being like knowing what they want and want to fight. I'll fight for you. I'll fight with you. But sometimes there's some negative aspects of patriarchy and what's that misogyny still kind of lurking in the background. Even though everyone gets the memo and the talk, respect each other, all these other things. There's always somebody who's going to try to cross the line, and it's usually somebody that we work for. Happens. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think for me, negatives are sometimes, I talked a little bit about sometimes the kids show when they're going so fast to try to, we talked about how many pages we shoot. They're trying to make that day. So, and we have a quick turnover in editing. So I'm trying to get them, the scenes, the minute it's done, I'm hitting on my little iPad and sending up. And I just don't get a break because to me, because we're keeping track of so much, my brain needs to just break and get a little air every now and then, which is one thing I do like more about the single camera, that there are the downtimes for the lighting and the cameras. And with us, there's not. So sometimes you get a bit of burnout because we don't have someone to say, hey, you know what, I got to step away like other departments. Just you kind of sit in for me. You don't have that. So I'm just tied to the podium. I'm like, I can't sometimes. God help me.
What if you're sick, or what if you're not feeling well? If you're the only person, there's not someone in your cabin. How does that work?
They will call. This happened to me. I've only ever had to go home one day or miss one day. It was a half a day. I got like some vertigo or something. But actually, no, they were really lucky. We were getting ready to do a run through, which is just basically is I'll feed lines as somebody's up, and I'm timing the script so we know how much the writers might have to cut out. So I think they had like a producer who knew, so they had a producer step in for me and actually do it. But I have gotten calls at 4 a.m. because they kind of know what script supervisors are on a lot. I think I was on the Warner Brothers lot, and somebody had called that early, like, I am not going to be able to make it. I am violently ill, I don't think. And they will go down a list of people and, try to call them. I don't know. I never asked, who do you have sit in there until someone gets here? Because they start calling from the crack of dawn early in the morning. I don't know what they do the first couple of hours until someone gets there.
Damn,
the producer steps in there and is sitting there like this. Because they had one time for one of the PAs, they were like, just run a timer. And he said the poor PA almost passed out. They were like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes, stress.
Yeah, you can't just plug someone into the job, even if it's just for the run through or whatever. The job can be really stressful. But I think part of what I do like, and sometimes it's what I don't, it's working with the different personalities, because it can be really kind of cool. You do, in some instances, an actual family develops. There are a couple of shows. I mean, there was one show we finished 7 years ago. We're going to see each other tonight. We saw each other last week at Sound of Music Sing Along. We get together for dinners, and we haven't worked together in 7 years. So that part is really cool. And I do love that if you have a set that's very open to people moving up and they want people to, they will try to help. You have some sets that are like that they're like, this person's really good and we are in it and we will help them move to wherever they want to move. And you have some other sets they're like, You do a good job at what you do, and we're comfortable with this. We don't want anyone else. So they want you to stay right there. So that can be interesting. Yeah.
So what are some things that you all, we're going to wrap up here, but just moving into what you foresee your vision or your aspirations beyond script continuity, or do you want to stay in this area where you are? What are some things that you want to do moving forward, or projects that you may be working on? Go ahead and start with you, Sam.
Okay. I would love to do my own and start. Like I'm always writing, like in between setups and stuff. I'll just like, oh yeah, big dog runs down the street. I'll make a note. Like that's a good idea. We find those kind of. But so you try to find time to. I mean, I do. I like find time to do my own writing, just to have something of my own developed. And I gotta say, working on set all day is educational. You talk to writers and you see the struggles they go through to make sure that this episode or this scene is good. But yeah, I like to write some stuff and then hopefully make one someday. So I could be like you.
Start a film festival and not have time to work on your own stuff. No, don't be like me. Stuff gets pushed down. But no, I mean interesting people like you all though. I mean, well, I know Sam, but yeah, this is great. But come on, what do you want to do? I know you're an author and an inventor. What are some other things you want to do?
Yeah, well, one of the things is since inventing and starting my own business, it's been a lot more difficult to write. I'm trying to time management for everyone, whether you're a student, whatever. It's so hard when you have a lot of irons in the fire. So of course, build up the company. And I think I talked to you a little bit about diversifying it a little more, but I do want to write more. And both of my books, actually, one of them I started turning into a limited series, and I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see what'll happen, but writing is really big. But also, it's the moving on to directing. So hopefully, once this strike is over, it came at an interesting time. The kids show will come back, and then I will be able to. So that'll be that'll be lovely. I've script supervised for a while, and it's been really fulfilling. But I think I am at a place now where I do want to make, I want to turn the car down a different road, and yeah.
You mentioned your books. What are the names of your books?
Your
book and your invention.
The invention is, actually that's right. It should be blythe@yahoo.com.
Oh, let me correct that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You spelled it like how Jamaicans say it. They say Blythe. But yeah, it's Blythe. The first book was called The Cricket Serenade, and it takes place in Jamaica about a politician who marries a woman to get votes, but it's her story of, poor woman from the countryside, what happens. It was published by a boutique agency called Genesis Press. And then the second one's called Revenge of a Not So Pretty Girl. We sold as Why Ate a Random House, and it's basically about an unlikely friendship that forms between a 14-year-old girl and an 80-year-old former actress that she mugs. So yeah. So yeah. So those are the books. So yeah, it's just being like living in my creativity a little more and trying to make that time to do so, man, because the days go quickly unless you rein it in a little and make the time.
Yeah.
Show us your invention. You got that handy? Your invention.
Well, I'll show you in the packet, but what it does is, Sam, I was telling Ada before, going back to the set, I lost my Apple Pencil in about 3 hours. There was nothing that could attach it to your tablet, to your case. Yeah. And so a friend and I went and got a prototype, and we ended up inventing it's a Zoop Loop. It sells on Amazon. Yeah.
I'm gonna hit that because I spent like $300. 3 pins.
$130. 3 hours gone.
Mm-hmm. I think they make them that purposely. I think so you can roll off and fall away. So you buy
Oh,
another
they
one.
do. And they make it so that you can't, because it's such a smooth surface, you can't attach anything to it, which is why we did something about it.
Go ahead. I'm gonna get that.
All right.
So you can reach Sam at Sam's Second Line Studios if you want to reach out to him, and you can reach Carolita at carolitablythe@yahoo.com. You all have been awesome.
It's been
No, this has
wonderful.
been
Thank you, Ada. This is great.
good.
Yeah.
I like that you two even connected because things probably are different the way they operate union wise. Of course they are, but being in New Orleans as opposed to being in Los Angeles, working on features and anything else as opposed to the 5 camera thing would have my head spinning. I couldn't even. I think you're amazing for doing that. That would have my head spinning.
No, like you're literally like this sometimes when the day goes long enough and the actors can't get their line. You're on take like 16 and you're like this.
Yeah, that's a lot. So bless your heart. That's amazing. Superwoman, Superman. Well, y'all, thank you. We are very appreciative. And I think that this is really good because, like I said, people don't even know that this department exists. So now they do, or they will. And so this may be an area that even colleges may even consider, even bringing in like for workshop or speaking to students about the different areas, I think is very critical as well. So you all have a great rest of the year because this is October. We only have 2 more months and we out another year.
Yeah, can you believe that? Wow.
And hang in there. I think this writer's strike should be settled by the end of the year because I know you all are being impacted by that as well.
Ada, it better be settled by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're actually meeting. They met today, which they haven't done a Saturday because they're trying to wrap. But who knows? These things are they can be so sensitive. Who knows what's going to happen there?
Well, take the time to do your writing, just take the time and make it your own. Yeah.
Yep.
But thank you all.
Great
God bless.
y'all.
Take care.
Thank you.